Welcome to our explanation regarding high school graduation and completion requirements. We will be discussing the different choices that young adults, high school students have available to them when they have a disability and they are seeking to graduate or complete high school. First, let's discuss the obligations and responsibilities that school districts and charter schools have towards students. So first, of course, they have the obligation to award diplomas and certificates of completion to all high school students within the state that are going through this educational piece. However, students with disabilities who either have an IEP, an individualized education program, and receive special education, as well as students who may have a Section 504 plan, do have additional options to consider when thinking about how to proceed. And this is something that should be discussed in the development of the transition piece of the IEP, as well as enter into the discussions of 504 teams for the student. The focus should definitely always be on the young adult's vision of the future, and various things are considered with transition IEPs, and the graduation path, the completion path, both of those have to be discussed and may need to be adjusted as time goes on, but having a clear vision of the path is helpful to teams as you make progress. In our state, we have multiple options, as I mentioned earlier. And what these are, there's three of them. You have the option of obtaining a regular high school diploma. You have the option of going forward with an alternate high school diploma. And there can always be the receipt of a certificate of completion. Each one has particular requirements. Each one has particular purposes. So we're going to go over each one of these and learn more about what those requirements are. What are some things to think about as you prepare for this path? And some of the things that teams need to weigh in on in order to make a choice, including, of course, the opinion and strengths and functioning of the young adult who's going through this as you continue with the secondary education piece. First, most of you are probably familiar with a regular high school diploma option. If you've been through high school, you know that this is the aim of a high school education. In fact, it is also the aim of going through high school with an IEP as well. This is something that students are working toward, and it's the assumption. So the high school diploma is awarded to students who receive special education services, who have satisfied and completed all graduation criteria. There are credits that need to be earned in certain areas within English language arts, within math, within science. There are other components as part of a regular high school diploma, and every high school should have a guide for what those requirements are, those credits that need to be earned, and students should be able to monitor their progress toward completion, usually in the form of transcripts. And reviewing those periodically and regularly is definitely a good practice for any high school student, regardless of whether or not there's a disability present. One thing to note is that a regular high school diploma is something that the majority of students with disabilities are working toward. If the student has met the graduation requirements, the school district or charter school, in other words, the LEA, the local education agency, may not withhold a regular high school diploma from the student. Districts and charter schools have a specific number that they are looking for in terms of credits for the regular high school diploma achievement or completion, and there are requirements, basic requirements that the state has. You can check those out on the Utah State Board of Education's website. They have a dedicated section to graduation, and they have very specific requirements statewide for getting a regular high school diploma. Each district and charter school might make additions, changes, perhaps be more rigorous, etc. So check with your particular district or charter school to see what it would entail to obtain a regular high school diploma. Now, because this is what everybody's working toward, and IDEA, the Individualized the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act is seeking to provide youth with disabilities opportunities to help them achieve as their peers would. This definitely ends a student's free and appropriate public education. In other words, once you graduate with a high school diploma, special education within the public school system is over because you've met the goal. As we know, there are cases where a regular high school diploma might be too rigorous a path to follow for certain students, and therefore there's the option of working toward an alternate high school diploma. Now, an alternate high school diploma is for students with a significant cognitive disability who meet the requirements for participation in the alternate assessment, which is at this point called the dynamic learning maps. The assessment that is not the alternate assessment, it used to be SAGE, it is now RISE, and the alternate assessment designed for students, again, with significant cognitive disabilities is the dynamic learning maps. It is definitely based on the essential elements, the English, language, arts, and math portion, and the extended core for the science portion. And those are modified versions of the Common Core, which is what all students are working on. So those that do have significant cognitive disabilities should be working through the essential elements, receiving instruction on those and the extended core, and should be participating in the DLM, the dynamic learning maps. This is something that is discussed at IEP meetings, and this is something that if you're not aware whether your student is or isn't taking the dynamic learning maps or is using the essential elements for instruction, this is a question for IEP teams. And it is important to be clear on that so that you know whether or not it makes sense to work toward an alternate high school diploma or if your student is working toward a regular diploma. The last option is a certificate of completion. With a certificate of completion, the students are not considered graduates of the high school. They are not counted as graduates, and it is in fact something that pretty much states that they have completed their senior year and that they're exiting the school system. They have not met all state or district or charter school requirements for a diploma. Therefore, they have just basically completed, attended, received educational instruction, but not to a point where they were meeting specific requirements towards something. The regular high school diploma has very specific requirements, as does the alternate diploma. The certificate of completion is definitely something that can be awarded to students with disabilities, so those on an IEP or a Section 504 plan, they are able to receive a certificate of completion. Now, as of February of 2018, the Career Development Credential was put into place for students with disabilities that are working toward either a regular high school diploma or an alternate high school diploma. And remember that those do have very specific requirements or criteria to be met. In order to know what those are, again, it would be important to touch bases with your school district or your charter school and look through those graduation requirements. The regular high school diploma, of course, uses the core, and the alternate high school diploma using the essential elements and the extended core, based off of those common core components of the regular high school diploma. The Career Development Credential is not a standalone certificate. It is actually part of the diploma that you're working toward. It promotes a career-focused work experience for the student. It is something that the student must work on once they've received credit in core academic content areas. It is requiring 120 hours of community-based work experience, completion of a transition curriculum, class or coursework, and 0.5 credits in an internship. This is definitely designed for students to be employment ready, career minded. It gives them experience in their professional development as they look toward what will happen beyond the high school years. Students who are able to take advantage of this time in their lives to experiment and experience employment-related, career-related coursework and experiences are able to capitalize on that as they grow older and have better outcomes when it comes to their ability to find and maintain employment, as well as their ability to be as independent as they could possibly be. Now, for students that might live in rural areas or who are struggling to find those employment opportunities, it is important to consider working through vocational rehabilitation services, USOR, the Utah State Office for Rehabilitation Services, and work with a transitional vocational rehabilitation counselor. They will be able to guide the youth in terms of what employment opportunities and options might be there for them to help fulfill this credential. And this would be something that would not be done in isolation with VR. It would be in conjunction with the school district or charter school's IEP team, which will include the student, the parents, the transition counselor, if appropriate, and the rest of the educational team. Now, earning the Career Development Credential does not end a student's right to receive a free, appropriate public education on its own. If this is earned as part of a regular high school diploma, of course, it is something that will end FAPE, but it is not because of the Career Development Credential component. It would be because a regular high school diploma was earned. Now let's take a minute to discuss the IEP team. Now the IEP team definitely has a responsibility to develop a transition plan as part of the IEP, and this needs to be taking place during the student's 14th year of age. When that IEP happens, transition needs to be discussed, and it should be a conversation around the training, education, employment, independent living, community participation, those services that are designed to improve the academic and functional achievement of the student and to help them go from school to post-school activities. The team needs to discuss and explore graduation options as well as these other things I just mentioned. The IEP team also has the ability to modify and substitute graduation requirements. There are very specific guidelines set forth by the State Board of Education, and those guidelines have to be followed when those changes occur, and any changes to those requirements have to be documented on the student's IEP. Because IEP teams have to take into consideration the students' goals for their employment and post-secondary choices, it's important to consider the graduation path, as this graduation path is going to have implications for institutions of higher learning. For example, where is the student going to attend college? Where's the student going to continue working toward a career? What sort of employment skills are going to be fostered and developed to help the student in the future? It is important that that path be as accurate as possible for the student. Does it mean that if a student starts on a path, say the student begins working toward a regular high school diploma, and down the line the team might find that that is not the most appropriate option for the student, and perhaps the alternate diploma is most appropriate? Can the team make that change? The answer to that is yes. The team needs to consider that changes might take place as a student experiences high school and the course content of high school courses and the rigor of high school courses. So if the team needs to make adjustments, it is able to do that. However, it goes without saying that the more we know about the student in terms of his or her abilities to take on these high school courses based on past experiences with the student, based on past performance, the clearer the way to go forth in this path. I hope the choices that have been discussed are clear. If you should find that you have questions about your particular young adult situation, please feel free to contact us at the Utah Parent Center. We can further discuss your individual situation and provide additional resources regarding high school graduation and completion. You'll see on screen our phone number is 801-272-1051 and our toll-free 1-800-468-1160. We have parent consultants that will be able to answer your questions and help you navigate the system as well. We really appreciate your time and hope this has been useful to you. Thank you.